Hi boys and girls, Mrs. Hales here. Today we're going to start art off with one of my favorite books called The Dot by Peter Reynolds.
Art class was over, but Vashti sat glued to her chair. Her paper was empty. Vashti's teacher leaned over the blank paper. "Ah, a polar bear in a snowstorm," she said. "Very funny," said Vashti. "I just can't draw." Her teacher smiled. "Just make a mark and see where it takes you." Vashti grabbed a marker and gave the paper a good, strong jab. "There!" Her teacher picked up the paper and studied it carefully. She pushed the paper toward Vashti and quietly said, "Now, sign it." Vashti thought for a moment. "Well, maybe I can't draw, but I can sign my name." The next week, when Vashti walked into art class, she was surprised to see what was hanging above her teacher's desk. It was the little dot she had drawn. Her dot, all framed in swirly gold. "Huh! I can make a better dot than that." She opened her never-before-used set of watercolors and set to work. A red dot, a purple dot, a yellow dot, a blue dot. Vashti painted and painted. The blue mixed with the yellow, and she discovered that she could make a green dot. Vashti kept experimenting, lots of little dots in many colors. "If I can make little dots, I bet I can make big dots too." Vashti splashed her colors with a bigger brush on bigger paper to make bigger dots. Vashti even made a dot by not painting a dot. At the school art show a few weeks later, Vashti's many dots made quite a splash. Vashti noticed a little boy gazing up at her. "You're a really great artist. I wish I could draw," he said. "I bet you can," said Vashti. "Me? No, not me. I can't draw a straight line with a ruler." Vashti smiled. She handed the boy a blank sheet of paper. "Show me." The boy's pencil shook as he drew his line. Vashti stared at the boy's squiggle, and then she said, "Sign it." The end.
Can any of you relate to Vashti not knowing what to paint or draw, or not thinking that your drawings or paintings are going to be good enough? I can relate to that. Well, today we're going to experiment with our own dots in celebration of International Dot Day, which is September 15th. Let's get started. The supplies you need for today are 2, 3, or 4 crayons in any colors that are next to each other on the color wheel. So for example, you could choose yellow, yellow, orange, and orange. And if you wanted a darker color, you could use red, orange, or red in addition to those. You also need a black crayon, a white crayon, a pencil, and any white piece of paper will do, even if it has blue notebook lines on it. So for your dot that you're going to make, you can color it however you want. I am going to show you how to color your dot and turn it into a ball or a sphere, something that has form and has highlights. So first I draw a circle on my white paper in pencil. My circle is not perfect, it's just kind of round. I picked out 2 shades of blue. I picked out aquamarine and robin's egg blue, and then I also used a white and a black crayon. Now, I'm going to leave the middle of my circle white, and I'm not going to color that at all right now. So that's about the size of a quarter or a nickel. And around that, with my strokes going around all the same direction, I'm going to color lightly with my lightest blue value or my lightest blue color. I find that it's easier for me if I move my paper around instead of holding my hand at a really awkward, weird angle. Next, I'm going to go on the outer edges of that circle. So moving out towards the edge of my circle, I'm going to push down a little bit harder with my crayon, and I'm going to get an even darker value or shade of my Robin's Egg Blue crayon. And I'm going to move my paper around so that I can try to keep my strokes going around in a circle, the same direction. And I'm just going to keep doing this, turning my paper around and trying to push down with the same amount of pressure on this. I guess you could call it my second ring of blue. So it's like a medium blue color. And I don't want to fill up my whole circle because I want to leave space outside of this part of blue, this shade of blue, for an even darker section of blue. So notice that my edges are not perfectly straight and crisp. They're kind of fuzzy where the edge of the blue meets the white. And that's fine because we're going to blend these colors anyway. So it doesn't have to be a perfect circle. You don't have to have really crisp edges. So now I'm going back in with my darker blue, or turquoise in this case. And what I'm doing is I'm overlaying this color over the edge of the other color. So I'm actually covering up the edge of the other color with this color. And when I do that, I'm making an entirely different blue. Oops, I broke my crayon. So the secret or the trick to blending colors is to not be afraid to play with the pressure. So how hard are you pushing down with your crayon, and not be afraid to overlap your colors. It's totally fine for you to overlap your colors. That's how you're going to blend the colors. So think of today as practice. You're practicing blending colors with crayons. It's probably not going to be perfect. Mine isn't perfect either. And just like Vashti did, we are experimenting with blending colors today. If this looks too hard for you or you're not interested in blending colors, you can color in your dot or your sphere. If you want to make it have form and be round, you can color it in any way you want. You could use any color scheme or color combinations that you want. You could even do a fade from top to bottom, almost like a sunset. Now I'm just going to clean up the edge of my sphere a little bit, or my circle. I want it to be, I'm trying to make it look more round and less bumpy. So I'm just going to clean up my edge with my darkest blue and kind of smooth it out and keep blending those colors. When I'm happy with my edges, I'm going to grab my white crayon and I'm going to blend the white in with my lightest blue, starting at the center or my highlighted area and working my way out just a little bit. I'm pushing down pretty hard, so my pressure is pretty hard. And this white is going to help blend those colors together. I'm not going to cover all of my blue ball or my blue sphere with white, just that middle section. And just like I did with my blues, my strokes are in a circular motion. If you want to outline your ball or your circle or your sphere with a black crayon or a darker color, you can. You don't have to. So think about what kind of dot you want to make. I had so much fun making my turquoise dot that I actually made two more that I wanted to show you really quickly. In this next one, I traced a lid so my circle would be a little bit more perfect, and I offset my highlight. So instead of putting it right in the center of my ball, I put it up towards the top. So I'm going to follow the exact same technique and process that I did before, except my highlighted area is on the top of my ball or sphere, and I'm using yellow, yellow, orange, orange, and red. So I chose 4 different colors to blend. But just like with my turquoise sphere, the trick to blending my colors is actually overlapping them. So putting some orange over your yellow, putting some red over your orange area. And you can even go back in, like I think I went back on this one, I went back over the orange with some yellow. Your ball or sphere is going to look more realistic if you offset or off center where your highlight is. For my last example, I wanted to turn my dot into something else. So I made kind of like a sunflower and I turned my dot into a sunflower. I drew petals on the outside around the edges and I drew a pattern in the center. Whatever kind of dot you end up making, remember to experiment and have fun with it. See you next time.